go and make it. So I'm glad that you've listened. This session is going to be awesome. You've maybe some of you met Sarahlynn earlier in the day. Sarahlynn is Wellbeing Lead at Qualified Tutor, and we were just discussing. She keeps us all balanced here. She's the same voice, the calming voice, the balanced voice when we're all having a wobble, and very helpful. Very glad that she's joined the team. She's also the founder of Bettering Youth, and you may have heard a little bit about the work that she does there in the roundtable this morning, and the podcast host of the Mindful Toolbox. So busy lady doing lots of fabulous things, and also a personal trainer. So Sarahlynn started those companies after having worked in a classroom and feeling like that didn't quite fit what she wanted to do. She left and started her own education business that focused on developing key skills, like kind of alongside academic skills. So empathy, resilience, critical thinking, self-awareness, which is really the foundation for everything else that students need at that point. And then noticed that there's the need for wellness support and resources. She's launched the Mindful Toolbox. I'll share a couple of links so you can find out a little bit more about what Sarahlynn does, and I would recommend that you do, but I'll hand over to Sarahlynn now to share.
Amazing. Okay, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I know that your time is really precious, so I'm really hoping to provide something that is valuable and actionable today. So I want you to come with an open mind and kind of willing to put in a little bit of work, but I promise we're going to have fun along the way as well. So I actually just popped in the chat box a workbook that you could use. You don't have to worry about if it's not interactive. You can just use it as the guideline, but on the slides that I'm about to share with you, you'll be able to see everything as it goes through. So there's no worry if you don't have it, but if you are looking for the workbook that I'm referring to, it is in that chat box. Excellent. Hello, everybody. I see that we're putting some amazing dinners in this chat. I'm glad I've already eaten. Otherwise, I'd be super hungry. Can I just have an idea of who's joining me? So I know Georgina gave me a wonderful introduction, but I'd love to know a little bit more about you. So in the chat, can you tell me maybe where you're tuning in from, your key stage focus, and your subject, just so I have an idea of who's here and where we're coming from. Cheese and tomato. Fantastic. Perfect. I can see you all confidently typing away. I'll give you a moment. Perfect. So we've got Jack, who works with teenagers who are disengaged, and he also does a little bit of singing teaching too. And if you ever hear Jack singing, it's such a beautiful, beautiful experience to uphold. We've got Amanda from Birmingham, and she works across all levels. We've got Georgina, or Georgie, living in North Devon. She's a primary school teacher originally. So Georgie, are you now tutoring full-time? What's your role? We've got Jeremy from Bristol. He tutors Key Stage 1 and 2 children after teaching for a long time and just happier working as a tutor now. Good. I'm so glad that you're choosing what makes you happy. We've got Sunny from Hertfordshire at the moment. They tutor GCSEs and A-level students with their maths and science exams. We have a Polish girl living in Glasgow, that's Maya. She's tutoring maths and physics, but trying to figure out the next steps in tutoring after finishing uni. That's fantastic, Maya, welcome. We've got Lauren from Scotland, specializing in English and business, also specializing in academic English. And Julia in London, raising the amazing children and building Qualified Tutor. Excellent. Georgie, yeah, so you're tutoring for some agencies and leaving mainstream in July. That's so exciting, or you just left. We've got maths and physics from Elliot. From Boston. Excellent job coming all the way in from Boston. So Thank you all so much for joining me this evening. I do appreciate that your time is super valuable. So my goal is to make sure that we are walking away with things that are actionable and things that are going to help you feel a little bit more encouraged as we move through the different ebbs and flows of our work life, I suppose. So my name is Sarahlynn. I use she, her pronouns. As Georgina mentioned, I'm the founder of Bettering Youth, an academic tutoring company that blends in emotional well-being coaching, and the founder of the Mindful Toolbox. So that's the space that teens go to find the tools they need to really support them beyond the classroom. And you may have also heard that I am the well-being lead here for the Qualified Tutor. So I might be in your inboxes every single day, numerous times a day over the next week. And I'm not going to apologize for that. So I have a different setup. I've got you all lovely here, and I'm going to have my chat box on this side. I've got slides on this side. So please know that you do have my full attention, but my eyes might be kind of wandering from place to place. Welcome so much, Matt. Thank you so much for coming. Okay, so I'm really overjoyed and excited to be here, and my voice is very likely going to speed up and slow down at different times. Please know that I'm just trying to contain all of the bubbling excitement that's within me and just trying to regulate myself. So do bear with me, but I do also have some really good notes here because I want to make sure that I'm not going to be pulled away off onto too many tangents, and I'm going to give you something that's really actionable. So we've got a little bit of housekeeping before we dive in. If you haven't already done so, please pop in the chat box. I see Lucy, you're here from Ascot. I know you, the founder of Education Boutique. Fantastic. We've got Matt joining. Please make sure that you use the chat box. That is our first housekeeping rule of the day. Qualified Tutor and myself, we are all about community, and it really helps me make sure that I'm getting an understanding of where you're coming from so I can make this effective for you. But it also helps each of you understand that you are not necessarily alone going through this process. So blow that chat box up. I'm so excited to see all of your messages coming through. Number two is that I'm going to ask that you have an open mind about this. So when we're talking about overwhelm or burning out or anxiety, a lot of times there are big feelings that are attached to that. And so I'm going to be hopefully giving you the space to walk through those big feelings, but also the tools to make sure that you do so in a way that feels pretty good along the way. So those are our housekeeping rules. I see some of us have cameras on, cameras off. You're more than welcome to have camera on. I'd love to see your wonderful faces throughout, but the choice really is up to you. So I'm going to use the very annoying phrase that we're all probably sick and tired of hearing, and that is, can you see my screen? Not yet, give me 2 seconds, but that is the phrase I'm about to use. Can you see my screen? We've got it here. So, oh, we're on the wrong slide. You're already getting a sneak peek here, guys. So we're going to present. Screens off already in bed. That's not a problem at all. As long as you're here, that's what matters. Okay, can everybody see that okay? Can I get a thumbs up in the chat? Oh, and screens even better. So I'm just going to pull up my chat box on this side because, like I was telling Jack, for some reason we've got on Canva, they don't allow you to see absolutely everything. So I'm just making sure I've got you all in the right spaces. Okay, so I would like for all of us to go down memory lane. All right, I want to set the scene for you. So it was a cold, rainy day in October. Obviously cold and rainy here in the UK during October. I was sitting at my desk. It was a year 6 desk, and I was staring at a pile of books that feels like they are never going down. Who knows that pile of books that feels like it will never disappear, no matter how many times you mark those books? Exactly. We all know those books that just never disappear. So I'm sitting there, it's raining, I'm listening to the wind, I'm going through a number of books, and I start to feel my heart palpitating. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I know that this could be triggering for some of us, but that was the first of what felt like many different panic attacks for myself. And this was happening back in 2016. And I would love to know from you, has anyone experienced a panic attack before? You don't have to share anything personal, but it's always good to have a safe space. And I want to start off creating that space.
Oh, yeah. I
Oh,
would, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. So we've got so many people coming through, and I'm really appreciative that you guys are sharing that with me, because right out the gate, we're like 5-10 minutes in, and you are already being so wonderful to support each other through this. And I want to keep that up throughout the entire talk. So it's not always really easy to admit that we're having panic attacks or that we have anxiety, right? Sometimes we feel like if we admit to that, it means that we are less than, or we're no longer perfect, or we're no longer strong. And we want to wipe away all of that today. If you were in Dina's session earlier, she was talking about challenging labels, and that's a label that I work really adamantly to challenge. Having anxiety or working through a panic attack does not mean that we have or we are anything less. So this was my experience, and I was going through all of these feelings, and to be honest, it made me really question my reality in the classroom. And I think the biggest thing for me was that I just didn't like how my time was being spent. I worked an hour away from home, so I needed to drive an hour into school, but I would get caught in traffic if I didn't leave before 6:30. And then I would need to stay at school until after 5:30, so I didn't get caught in traffic on the way home. So by the time I was home, it was 7 o'clock. I wanted to go to the gym and get some release. It'd be 8 o'clock, come home, have dinner. Oh, well, there you go, 10 o'clock and you're in bed. Up at 5, and the cycle started again. And don't get me started about weekends. Weekends are supposed to be free time, but really weekends was planning and marking. So I felt like I had moved from Canada by myself to the UK, and I didn't have the capacity or the time to rebuild my network. I really felt like I was stuck in a loop. And that's not the worst part. For me, the worst part was actually feeling like I was letting my students down each and every day, because I would get to work, and instead of actually being able to have the capacity, the emotional capacity to be super present with them, the demand far outweighed that capacity. It far outweighed my ability to show up for them. And I felt really trapped. And that's why all of those panic attacks happened. So I did something really unusual. And you're going to be like, Sarahlynn, why did you do this? Let me paint the picture. So I actually went to the head teacher and I said to them, look, I actually think that our students need a lot more support in well-being. And I think we need a pastoral lead at our school. And I would like to be that pastoral lead. And you're thinking to yourself, Sarahlynn, you're overwhelmed, you're overworked, you don't have emotional capacity. Why are you giving yourself more work? And you know what? It was the best, craziest decision that I've ever made. I don't even know why it came. It just was a gut decision. And it was the best one, because that work that I did with those students one-to-one gave me the confidence to leave the classroom. It gave me the confidence to honor something that I knew wasn't right and try and find a path that I knew would be right. So I don't want to sit here and tell you that after all of my experiences, I no longer have panic attacks. That would be padding the truth, and I just can't do that to you. But what I hope to tell you today is the process in which I've learned to manage them. So when the anxiety comes up, I spend less time in those moments of anxiety, because I now have the tools and the resources to kind of navigate that situation a little bit better. So those are my goals, I suppose, for today. It's to really look at the process with you, give you those tools, and hopefully you'll leave feeling more empowered. So when panic arises, or when you start to feel like you're no longer in alignment, you'll have a method to pivot a little bit easier. So the thing is, guys, I got so caught up speaking that a couple of my slides were behind a little bit on those slides. So we're just going to go through them as a quick recap. Fun wins, right? In 2017, I decided to leave the classroom. I started doing speaking. I went back to school to do CBT training and mindfulness training and a bunch of other training. I launched Bettering Youth in the beginning of 2017, and it actually, you can see that the logo is very different than what it looks like now because we've gone through quite a bit of a change. So that's our little transition. But what I want to know from you are a couple of answers to these questions, because these are the ones that I started asking myself. I asked myself, is this all there is, right? Get up really early, go to work, feel like I'm not doing a good job, go home really late, go to bed, restart. Has anyone asked yourself, is this all there is? When will I learn to say no? That was something else that I definitely struggled to do at the beginning. Call me a people pleaser, call me someone who has too much FOMO, I'm not sure, but it took me a really long time to find the boundaries. Yes. And why am I wishing my life away? It's so true. When will I learn to say no? Or better yet, why do I keep doing this to myself? It's like you're aware that the decisions you're making are not exactly in alignment or honoring the boundaries that you should have. So why do you keep doing that for yourself? I wish I had more fun. That was a big one for me when I was a teacher. It's such a silly thing. I loved being a teacher and being in my classroom, and I had so much fun with my students. But beyond that, where was my fun? I didn't feel like I had a whole lot. And lastly, will I always feel like this? This is one that I feel like I hear a lot in my own mind when I'm going through the anxiety. Will I always feel like this? Will it always feel this difficult? I'm seeing so many amazing things popping up on the chat here. Thank you so much. So these are the ideas, but guys, I'm so excited for you. I am so excited for you that I am sharing with you the 3 people that get me through every hard day. And this is Ross, Rachel, and Phoebe, and they're going to be sharing our plan. So our plan for today is to look at how and why we experience burnout. We're going to be thinking about the 3 key ingredients we need to balance the rest with the hustle. And then number 3, I want to share with you what to do in a busy season. So let's get started. We all have a choice, okay? There's door A and there is door B. Door A is where you're constantly pivoting. Just like Ross, you're yelling pivot because you feel like whatever you're doing is not quite right. You might have the shiny object syndrome. You might have lots of big dreams, but there's no direction. So that is door A. Door B on the other side, you are running for those goals just like Phoebe. You don't care who is looking at you, how silly you look, what other people think. You are in your lane, you have a plan, and you are taking care of your needs. You have confident boundaries. In the chat box, I would love to see who here is a door A and who here is a door B. Remember, you all shared so much wonderful honesty and vulnerability earlier. So we are looking for that same honesty and vulnerability. We've got A's and B's coming through. We've got B, please, Bob, not a problem. Door A, yes. We've got a really good mix here, and that's fantastic because at different times of our business or our experience as tutors, we're going to be experiencing different doors, right? We're not always going to be walking through the same door, but here we are. We've got a good mix of doors A and B. So let's look together at what might be holding us behind door A and what we can do to make sure that we are confidently going through door B a little bit more often. So to do that, let's go on a road trip. On a road trip, we are always hitting 3 things. What do we always hit when we are when we're on a road trip? 3 things. They're all the same thing. What do we think? Sliding doors? I'm wondering what kind of road trip you go on. Me too. I love a road trip. Bumps. That's a really good one. I like that one. I'm going to keep that for my next session. No, the different things that we hit are deer. I really hope not. In Canada, it would be bears though. Traffic. Exactly. Traffic. It is looking at the traffic lights. Actually, we've got red lights, green lights, and yellow lights. So just like on a road trip, in our daily lives, in our business lives, we are hitting these different lights, right? You might feel like you're at a complete standstill. Moose, I hope, is it moose or is it meese? I've never known. You might be hitting those red lights. You might be hitting stop starts, right? You might feel like you've got a slow start and then a quick start. And then you might be getting what we call the most amazing part of a road trip, when all of those lights turn green and you go through that smooth sailing. Now, this happens on a road trip just like it does in our everyday life. So I mentioned earlier that I had put a link in the chat that has a workbook. Now, if you don't have that workbook now, that's not a problem, but I did mention that we are going to be doing some actionable work. So I hope you do have a pencil and a piece of paper, and we're going to go through some bits together. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is write down a well-being checkpoint. That's your title. And on or beside this well-being checkpoint, I'd like for you to determine if you are at a red light, a yellow light, or a green light. Okay, so are you mostly hitting red lights? This is where you feel lost. You can't keep track of dates or times. You've got the who am I, where am I running through your mind. What day is it? You're always exhausted. You don't feel like you have time to breathe or rest. And the rest might even give you guilt. And there's a never-ending to-do list. Yellow lights, you feel like you're constantly in that stop-start. You have a period where things feel really, really good. You might have clients coming in and it feels so good. And then all of a sudden, oh, it's too much, it's too much, it's too much. And then you have to pause really hard, slam on those brakes. And then it feels like that cycle needs to keep coming. There's so much piling up and there's fear of letting people down. Green lights, you got a strong understanding of what your limits are. You're able to rest without the guilt, and you can say no to things that don't serve you confidently and without worry. That's the key between a yellow and a green. You can confidently say no when things don't align. You're maximizing your time and you are feeling empowered. I'd love to see in that chat box, guys. What are you feeling? Are you more of a red, a yellow, a green, a mixture? Where are we at with our well-being check-in today? Yellow. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing that with me. Excellent. So we're going to do a couple of these. You started your journey today. Congratulations. This is your well-being journey that you're starting today, Lauren. Your tutoring one, let me know. A bit wobbly. Yeah, working towards yellow. I think it's so healthy to be able to self-reflect and acknowledge where we are, because just like on our road trip, right, that yellow light can turn to green or can turn to red so quickly. So being able to reflect where we are gives us the power to decide how we're going to choose. We've got a yellow, red. Absolutely. We've got Jeremy, he says, definitely feeling it a challenge to say no at work at the moment and refuse to be a doormat. So keep tipping into amber and green at times. Those healthy boundaries are incredibly important, but also incredibly difficult to put into place. Does fear come under red? Yeah, fear can come under red. I think it depends on your perspective. Well, I've given you definitions for red, yellow, and green. Feel free to find your own definition for it. Okay, so we've got the second checkpoint that we're going to be doing together, and this is specifically for your tutoring business. So this can be a tutoring agency, to be working as a solo tutor, to be working as a teacher, moving into tutoring, wherever you are, whoever you are, whatever label that you want or you want to make for yourself, this honors it. Where are we for our tutoring checkpoint? So if you are mostly hitting red lights, unfortunately, your dream client, they don't know why they should hire you. It's usually because you say yes to everything. And then unfortunately, you're silently cursing the things that you don't want to do, that you're not feeling in alignment with. Yellow is typically when you say something really big and bold. And then if someone asks you about it, you become a little bit more shy or retreat into your shell a little bit. And then green is, you know exactly who you are, what you offer, your strengths and your weaknesses. Your values and your boundaries are known by your clients. And when you say you'll do something, they know that you will do it because you want to. That is a green. Green-ish. I like that one. I wonder what would make you, Jack, go from a green-ish to a confident green. Which part of that dynamic you'll have to look at. I love this. Alignment is an interesting area to explore. It's my favorite thing to explore because if we're not in alignment, I feel like everything else feels off kilter. The third and final checkpoint that we're going to do is the fun checkpoint, because part of the beauty of being a tutor and being your own boss, whether working for an agency or for yourself, is that you have the power to choose where you go, right? You have the power to make fun a priority, but it's not always easy. So if you are feeling a red light, you might say things, oh, I really wish I could, but there's not enough time. Or I really wish I could, but you might feel guilty or irresponsible. Like, how dare you take Saturdays off when there are bills to pay? Yellow people, you might sometimes have a plan for this fun, but it falls to the wayside because things come up that feel like you need to prioritize them more. You might feel like you need to do those Saturday sessions instead of hanging out with your kids or whatnot. And there's no guilt and there's no pressure. It's about being reflective because none of these is the right answer at any one time. Number 3 would be looking at that green light. So you understand the importance of fun and you integrate time for it on a regular basis, both professionally and personally. Georgina, you feel guilty because time off happens in the day during the week. Now, I want to challenge that a little bit. Is that actually time off? Is that time that you're actually taking away from your work? Or is that time away from contact time with students and parents? Because even though you might have time away from students and parents, you might still be working on your business. And so it's still important to have complete time off, away from everything. Shut the computer off, stop talking to those parents. It's so important to put those boundaries in there. Yellow, absolutely. So Lucy, you've said yellow because I have to make sure the plan I've created is happening, which means I have to shift my natural choices to choices that aren't always my favorite, but I know are important. It's so difficult sometimes to change things that we know are important, even if they're not easy. So we've gone through that and we've seen some amazing comments here in the chat box, but I want you to go and reflectively just tally what you looked at. Go through, are we feeling more red, yellow, green? And while you're going through that, I want to give you permission to remind yourself that you're human, right? We might be looking in this chat box and seeing all of these lovely greens or yellows, and we might feel like we're in red, but we are all at completely different phases of our lives and our business. So going through that process of comparing one another, as Jack has reminded me already today, comparison is the thief of joy. We need to stay aware and reflective of what's going on, but never in judgment, just aware. Okay, so tally it up. I want us to go through some reflective process now. So what does it mean for you to get more greens? What does it feel for you if you saw that you had a red or a yellow or a green-ish? What would it mean for you to be able to get rid of that ish, to be able to have more green? What would it feel like if we're able to ground our thoughts and our goals in feelings? They're actually more likely to become a reality because they're stronger. So what would it feel like to you? What would it feel like to go through door B all the time, not just sometimes? To really champion yourself, to run like Phoebe, crazy and so full of conviction. What would that feel like? And how important is it for you to feel centered and in alignment with your goals? No, I don't think green necessarily has to be the goal for everyone. I think that's why we're going through that reflective process. I think it's so important for you to be able to see, based on where you are in your different phase, where you think you should be. And like I said earlier, you can come up with your own definitions for what the red, yellow, and green stand for. So I think it's more about a good feeling that we're hoping everyone will move towards. So if green represents that good feeling for you, then it's going towards that positive, empowered feeling. Okay, so What I want us to do now is go through a solution or a framework. So this is the Mindful Toolbox framework. If you have your notebook with you, please just go ahead and draw yourself your little trifecta circle. And we're going to write down what these 3 ingredients are. So this is a solution, I suppose, on helping us move towards that positive feeling. It's a simple understanding that with these 3 different tools, we can easily go through door B most of the time, and it'll help you go from feeling really overwhelmed and burnt out to feeling more empowered and feeling calm. So the first ingredient is vision, right? If we don't know where we're going or what our big life goal is, whether this is personal or professional or spiritual, or put your own label on it, if we don't have a goal, we're just going to float, right? That's why we stay in door A. So a question I really like to ask myself is, if I had everything that I wanted, what would my life look like? If I had oh, I love that, the empowerment plan. I'm going to steal that. Thank you, Lucy. So if we had absolutely everything that we have, what would your life look like? Would it be any different? Would you have more fun? Would you have more social time? Would you have a very different schedule? Declare your goals. This is where I want you to take a moment. We're not going to have as much time as I would love for you to have to go through this actual process, but I want you to have a quick think. Choose one. If your schedule were different, if your financial situation were different. Exactly that, Matt. That's exactly what I'm going for. Design your work around your life, not the other way around. So if we know exactly where we're going because we've declared our goals, that's when we can start creating those boundaries. I love that. And it doesn't matter how big or small these goals are either. So you are completely on the beach. You are your own boss, right? You are in control. So start thinking about those boundaries. For me, I worked as a tutor. This is going to sound so, maybe it's not, but for me, I look back and I think, wow, I worked for a tutor for 4 years over the weekends, Monday to Sunday, 4 years before I felt confident enough to put a boundary around my Friday to Sunday. And for me, I think what took me so long was I didn't have a vision. But as soon as I realized I needed that time to show up for other people more effectively throughout the week, then that became my head point, and I worked to be able to get there. So declare your goal for yourself. Number two is having the tools, right? Toolbox, Mindful Toolbox. See where we're going? Okay, so what are the tools that you already have at your disposal? You are all educated individuals, both academically, socially, professionally, emotionally. You have tools at your disposal. And the tools that you don't have, where can you get them from? Who can you get them from? Is there another Love Tutoring Festival that you can sign up for so you can get these tools? Is there another workshop that you might need to go to? Looking back over the tools that you have at your disposal allows you to better understand all of the skills that are at your disposal, all of the different things that you can start leaning on. But it also helps you to establish what self-care habits you might need to put in there. So for me, I had a really hard time saying no, which is why I kept taking students who wanted to work only on Saturdays and Sundays. So I needed to get the tool of not being someone who needed to say yes all the time. So I needed to work on that in order to move me towards my vision. Absolutely. So we have some really good things in here. I feel like I'm missing them. Elizabeth says, I work around my daughter. This is important to me, and I tutor when she is in school. Exactly. You work your business around your life. Being surrounded by friends who are the greatest minds of our time, and they influence my life and work in extraordinary ways. And Matt, you do the same thing for us. We're so grateful that you're here. We've got Jeremy. He says, someone claimed the other day that our childcare job was unskilled. I reminded her of all the skills we have. Yes. And people do not value the jobs they do sometimes and how amazing their toolbox really is. I couldn't agree more. That's why I wanted to remind you, you are all so capable. And even if you're starting at your journey and it feels like you're climbing this incredibly Mount Everest climb, you are so resourceful, and you will, if you have that vision of where you want to go and you take care of yourself through self-care, then you will absolutely climb that mountain. Okay, we have number 3 in the chat box. What do you think the third part of the empowerment plan is? What do you guys think? The third key ingredient. Any guesses? What else is going to help you balance the hustle and the rest to avoid the burnout? Boundaries. I love that one. That's more, I think, in the tools, but I'm all about boundaries, as you know. Hobbies, relax, friends. Now, what kind of friends now? Is that the show Friends? Could you tell that I'm part of that? Spirituality. Yes, yes, yes. Values, reflection, tea. I'm loving all of these answers. And you know what? I feel like there's something that that totally encompasses absolutely everything. And for me, that is, drumroll, community. Community. You are only as successful as the people that you surround yourself with. So we need to connect ourselves with people who are conscious of their self-care. We need to connect ourselves with people who have an idea of where they want to go. We need to be making intentional connections with people, because this is going to help improve our ability to put things into action and to improve the execution. So find out, like, where do you want to network without the icky feeling? For me, I would love to say that I'm an introvert, but I'm not. I'm an extrovert, but I still find networking a little bit uncomfortable sometimes. So for me, it's about finding sports or finding places that I can go to that allows me to meet people and naturally network with them. That is working time. If I go to the climbing gym and I am intentionally saying, Sarahlynn, you need to introduce yourself to 3 people today, I count that as time that's working. Georgie, there's your answer. If you are having time off, find it as a way that you can be boosting your tools. Get rid of that guilt. It doesn't belong there. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have our community. This is also the place where we get to celebrate wins. Now, it is actually scientifically proven that if we celebrate our wins along the way, we are more likely to continue taking those steps on our Mount Kilimanjaro or our Mount Everest hike. So for me, when I was deciding to leave the classroom, and it might be similar for you, I had a network of teachers who were constantly second guessing why I left the classroom. Why would you leave the classroom, Sarahlynn? You have no security if you leave the classroom, Sarahlynn. Why would you leave the classroom, Sarahlynn? Was constantly being asked and told. And no matter what my answer was, I always felt like I was hitting people questioning my decisions. And I knew that if I was going to be able to climb that mountain, especially by myself, because I didn't yet have an amazing community like you, I needed to disconnect myself from them. I needed to find a space where I could have a soundboard. I could have a team who were going to be excited for me when I find a new client or when I decide to leave the classroom. It's so important that we find people that are going to not be jealous, not critique, not judge, but rather celebrate and uplift and inspire. Lucy said she was told that she was going to be unemployable. There's so many times where people tell us things, and really, to me, those are a reflection of their own insecurities, right? It's like Dina was saying earlier, you don't have to take on other people's labels if you don't feel like they go with you. Okay, so how are we feeling about all of this? Which of these skills or parts of our cocktail, our potion of wonderful empowerment, which one excites you the most? That's really funny, Lucy. My former boss told me, on you go, but you'll be back. No, you don't need to be. Exactly that. Exactly that. Which one are we most excited for? For me, it's always about the community, but I could sit here and talk to you guys forever on vision and self-care habits. Yes, Lauren, you and I, we need to connect then. It's all about the community. The vision comes from your community. It really can. And I think sometimes that's why they're all interconnected, right? It's the three circles and they're touching because they really are so interchangeable. Okay, so for those of you who know me or don't know me, I'm sure by now you can tell I'm an energetic and bubbly and happy person. And I, like Georgina said, I like to be that balance. And the balance, we've got the good, and then we've got the hard truths. So I'm going to lay on some hard truths for you, okay? Without a clear vision, your dreams are going to remain just that, just dreams. And without doing a stock check, you'll never be able to improve how you deal with discomfort. And without a community, you are more likely to give up. I know, pretty crummy slides, but the truth is, I've actually got harder truths for you. We did a poll to you guys, actually, the Qualified Tutor community, and we asked you how you felt about your well-being. And 75% of you said that you struggle with your personal well-being. And the fact is that a lot of us, especially now, like Henry said it in our roundtable earlier, between the months of April and June, so many educators are feeling overwhelmed. And this can rob us daily. I want to know in the chat box, how many to-do lists do you have right now? This is no shade being thrown. Okay, this is just an honest reflection. I personally have 5, and they are all here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they are constantly growing. Jack's got 1. You have way more restraint than I do. Dr. T's got 6. Jeremy's got 1. To-do list. Yeah, Georgina, you tell us how many to-do list apps you have. 5. It feels like it never stops. Julia's got none. Julia, you should be leading the seminar, honestly. 1 long one. Break that one down, Amanda. It's going to help you to feel more productive if you break that one down into different pockets. I have forgotten to pick up my daughter before because I was working. Yes, happy to share. I'm so glad that you are. Overwhelm comes when people are living with so many races. Yes, the cyclical view of the world is what keeps us feeling overwhelmed. If you think of everything as an infinite journey, the time pressure eases. It's never about getting to that destination. It's always about the journey. It's always about the journey. How many times have you guys finished a week and thought to yourself, oh my goodness, I didn't even do what I set out to do this week? If you have a podcast that's sitting on one of your to-do lists, how many times have you finished a week and you realize I haven't done anything? How many of you are tutor or teachers and you think next month? Nope. Okay, next month. Nope. Okay, next month. And it just keeps getting pushed to the end of the list. Yeah. Have you ever felt like you needed to say yes even though you didn't want to, because the guilt of saying yes or the fear of it was so strong? Without having our boundaries, guys, we are at the mercy of living other people's lives. Thank you so much for sharing in the chat box. We do have some good news though. We've got some good bits. The fact is, if you are not taking control, you are on a break with your own well-being, your own life, your own dreams. And I don't want that for you, right? We don't want to be on a break. So the best thing that we can do is plan. The best thing we can do is plan. And it's not just a Girl Guides mantra, and it's not a motto that I grew up as a Girl Guide. It really is the best way forward. So for the next couple of minutes, I am appreciative of time. I want to help you plan your week for the festival and potentially next week as well. So you are looking at your community, your self-care, and your well-being. So I know that not all of you guys have the workbook, but if you want to take a moment, I'm sure we all have a diary with our schedules written down. Please take that out for a second. What I want you to do before we look at our diary is to look at our customer journey. So we're going to put our business hats on and we're going to think about our customer journey. Now, if you are just starting your journey, I believe, Lauren, you said you were just starting your journey. Who do you want to work with? What kind of student do you feel like you'd be able to best serve? Let's look at our customer journey. We have September, February, July, fill in the rest of the months. Let's say you are a tutor who supports 11 plus students, right? Right about now is the deadline for parents to register. So we have that in mind. In September, October, they actually have their exam. So start writing down exactly when you feel like your customer has important things coming up for them. If you're a GCSE tutor, put those milestones in. If you're a tutor who works with students who are in year 8, when do you think it's important for them to get ready for their transition exams? When do you think it's important for them to go through everything? Elizabeth, you work with year 4 students. They are moving to year 5. Year 5 is a big year. It's a huge change for them mentally and academically. So they might have different times of the year where there's more pressures on them. So for Lucy, she says, September, the SLT funding drops and Ofsted publishes the new funding league tables. And then January 2nd, the payments are made to the schools, and April 3rd, payments are made to schools. Just by taking this second to zone in on your customer journey, you've just established the busiest times of your year and the times that you need to almost section off or safeguard, and the times that you are going to have to dive in deeper with your self-care. The times where your students may not need that much of you, that's your time that you launch the podcast, or you explore a new venture, or you go out climbing every week and you enjoy more. It's about finding the ways that we can balance it out, because as educators, there's so many ebbs and flows. So planning is going to help us be more in control, so we're not at the whim of these ebbs and flows. Okay, the next thing I'd like for you to do is write down 3 feelings that you felt during a previous busy season. 3 feelings that you felt during a previous busy season. For some, it might be the exam season that just happened. If I had to reflect on the last busy season, it was actually this past month with exams. And I would probably say that I had a feeling of overwhelm, a feeling of joy, and a little bit of optimism. But the overwhelm was quite strong. So those would probably be my 3. Overwhelm, determination, and fear. I love that one, Julia. Thank you for your honesty. You guys, again, you can pop them in here or you can write them down in your notebook. The choice is yours. Overwhelmed and accomplished. What a nice balance, Dr. T. I like that. So we also have overworked. Yeah, trying to fit in a full time that you don't like. I think it's more than just being overworked, Lauren. If you're feeling like you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're also emotionally going to be sapped as well. Felt that I had let my family down. These are things, right? These are real, true, honest feelings that we have. And that's why you're here full time. I'm so grateful for you guys for putting this in the chat box. There's a feeling of relief, absolutely, that comes. But those 3 feelings that you feel, let's find a way to make sure that we feel not positive feelings. I don't like having a label for feelings as good and bad. They're all good because they help teach us different things. But let's plan so we can feel more of the empowerment and the relief and the accomplishment. So we're going to look at 3 self-care habits that you know already help you to feel your best. I'm not asking you to write down the self-care habits that you do. You can very well know self-care habits that make you feel good and not do them. Hopefully, we're going to switch that on its head today. But what are 3 self-care habits that you know at the end of the day always make you feel good? We've got dog walking, traveling, and hypnotherapy. I love the first 2, never tried the third. Lucy, we might need to talk about that one. Absolutely. So for myself, I'd probably be talking to my family and friends or going out with my family and friends, probably doing some kind of movement and being outside. Zumba, shopping and cuddles. We've got baking, exercise, healthy eating, and hugs. Guys, I love this so much. So all of these amazing things, these are the habits that we need to build in our off-peak times. These are the habits that we need to build when our students don't need us that much. Because if we build them in the off-peak times, then when our students are craving all of our time and all of our energy, we are going to have better boundaries, better foundations, and we're not going to feel guilty because we're going to know the benefit that it will provide to us. Regular sleep is so, so important. Definitely a good one, Georgie. Okay, so now we're going to take a peek at our diaries. I want you, beside wherever you write your diary, right? I've got a bullet journal so I can make my diary look like whatever I want it to, but somewhere, maybe on a sticky note, I want you to write down the 3 things that you just said make you feel good. And I want it to be visible beside your diary. So I have here daily walks, no screen, 1 hour before evening sessions, and a workout. Right? I don't know about you, but like we've talked about here, we sometimes have sessions in the evening. I want to have no time on the screen at least an hour before 4 o'clock starts and my evening sessions start. So I want you to make sure that this is visible, right? Visibility is key because it brings it to the front of mind. Matt has working out, being present with my son, Teddy, and 20-minute mute meditation. I love that. Eating out with friends, the I Love White Festival. Jeremy, I'm wondering how you can claim that feeling of being at the festival every single day or at least once a week inside your diary. Avoid using screen before bed. Mute was an autocorrect. I just went for it, Matt. I really did. 20 minutes of meditation. Good. The Headspace app is key. Good. So we've got our diary in front of us, right? We have our 3 things that we are going to use to help us make us feel good. Now, in your diary, I want you to be honest. Do you already have in there things that are not must-dos? Things that are not appointments, sessions, work meetings? Do you have in there already things like planning homework or doing the food shop or any of those extra to-do list things? Do you already have them on your list? You struggle with diaries. Good, good. Because the key is that you write down all of your sessions or all of your must-dos, and then you block out the time that you are going to guarantee for yourself, and then you add in all of your other bits. So if you're anyone like me, your schedule for this week with the festival might look a little like this, right? We've had keynotes and we've had the brain breaks and mindfulness and roundtables and here we are, and we've got our actual sessions booked in and we've got other bits throughout. It can be a lot. So what I always do is I always plug in where I'm going to do my self-care. So for instance, I know that when AJ Harper's doing her session at 12 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to be outside. I'm going to be outside walking around my garden with my notepad because I want to make sure I get my walk in, but also I'm outside. I want you to make sure that you are paying yourself first with your self-care. Everything else that's on your to-do list, that needs to fit around that. If it doesn't fit around that, then maybe we need to look at delegating. Maybe we look at checking off something off the list or moving it off of your list. We need to pay yourself first, not just with your paycheck, but with your self-care as well. Now, this might not always be what it looks like. For instance, the week after, this is what it looks like. Right? 2 weeks from now, I have all of my must-dos. You can see here, I've got journaling written down. That's a self-care habit that I put in my diary for myself. It's time that I'm not allowing someone to book into. I also say when I'm going to go for a walk and when I'm going to do a workout. And then everything else gets added in after that, not before. Yes, journaling gets the biggest bang from my buck. I'm still learning how to get someone to manage my diary. I'm not at that point yet, Lucy. If you figure it out, you're going to have to come back and tell us how. Vision boarding is so good. Blocking out time is key. Absolutely. I literally write down how much time I'm doing emails for, when I'm going to check my emails, and it sounds crazy. And you're going to think, oh my goodness, you're making us overschedule. Like we have to write everything down. No, but within those boundaries, you have freedom. Because now you don't have to worry about when you're going to have your walk, or when you're going to meal prep, or if you're going to go outside or call a friend today. You are going to have the confidence to be so zoned in on what you're doing, because you know that you're paying yourself after with that self-care. That's how we balance it. Okay, so the average human makes about 35,000 decisions a day. Who feels like they've made about 35,000 decisions a day today? I do. We've got some hands up coming up. I love it. So the odds of us achieving a goal success rate without the overwhelm actually skyrockets when we make a grand statement and when we're supported in community. So that is what we're going to do now. Tell us in the chat, please, what are you committing to do for yourself this week that is going to help you go through the week, the good overwhelm that you might feel through the festival with all of the guest speakers and all of the information and all of the things you want to action, but there's no time. Tell us, what are you going to do to help balance that out? When you're ready, I want you to type it in the chat box. And I promise you will be celebrated and supported, because this community is amazing. We are going to make our grand statement here. Absolutely. You're going to celebrate your small wins. You're going to take time out and do what you can. Do what you can, Lauren, is key. Do what you can and forget everything else, even though it's hard. Excellent job. Fantastic. Going walking in the field opposite my house. Yes. And gardening. Go outside for a bit each day. Like, these are all things that we could do while we're listening to these amazing conversations, right? We don't have to be glued to our desk. This is such an important part. More cuddles with Finn. I love this. I'm going to eat healthy food that you cook, Georgina, and not pretend it's not there. Yes, we're all guilty of that. Go out for walks in the festival. Brain breaks. We have actually programmed more brain breaks this time around, because we know that sometimes we get so much good that it becomes overwhelming. So use those brain breaks. Absolutely. Wake up without checking those emails. Guys, I'm so excited. Cooking yourself a meal. There's nothing wrong with making friends on the internet. Absolutely not. That's where all of you lovely people come in. Excellent catching up with friends Dr. T. I'm so pleased to hear all of these fantastic bits. Okay. So I do have a game of bingo. It'll be so super quick, but I'm also cognizant of time. Okay, can I get a thumbs up if we're ready for the quickest game of bingo that you've ever played? Yeah, yeah. I see Maya, I see Georgina, I see Amanda. We got some thumbs up. Okay, here we go. Every single time that something pops up on the screen that you know that you are going to implement into your schedule, you are going to say bingo. Every single time something pops up on the screen and you agree, you are going to type in bingo. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we've got the first one here is exercise. If you're going to do exercise, let's see a bingo. Matt's got a bingo. Maya's got a bingo. Jack's got a bingo. Georgina, Lauren, Amanda, amazing. Here we go. Next one. Cook healthy meals. Georgina's already said she's doing that one. We've got Elizabeth and Julia and Lucy and Georgina and Lauren. These are going to quick. Fantastic. Everybody write in your journal. Who's going to write in your journal? Bingo-ish. Bingo, except for the pizza you're eating. That's not a problem. Bingo, bingo. Matt, Dr. T, Elizabeth. Fantastic. Who is going to do a body care treatment? Who's going to paint their toenails or shave or just wash their hair? Like hair wash day is very important. Bingo for Jack and Julia and Georgina and Lucy. Fantastic. Drink enough water. I feel like sometimes too much of a good thing means I don't drink water. We've got more bingos coming through. I love it. Dr. T, not enough water. Excellent. Listen to relaxing music. Who's going to listen to relaxing music? I will have to do that before I hop off or go to bed tonight because I need something to bring me down. We've got Amanda and Dr. T. We've got facials in there. I love that, Elizabeth. bingo from Julia and Jack. We've got meditation. Who is going to meditate? Lucy mentioned headspace. Matt mentioned meditating. Bingo from Lucy and Matt and Amanda and Georgina and Dr. T. I love this. And socialize with neighbors. And they don't have to be your neighbors across the street, but who's actually going to actively connect with other people, meet people, say hi, expand your network. Elizabeth, Amanda, Mr. Matt, I love it. Julia, you guys are fantastic. Yes, the office does count, Lucy, if you keep saying hello, not a problem. Georgina and Elizabeth, what about reading a book? Who's going to read a book? I've got some great book recommendations if you ever need one. Bingo from Jack and Georgina and Jack and Dr. T's bingo-ish. That's not a problem. Bingo, Audible counts, not a problem. Off social media. Who is going to get off social media? We want you to use our hashtag Love Tutoring Festival. We're constantly saying share it on social media, but you need to know your own boundaries. Who is going to get off social media? Yes, Lauren and Amanda and Jack. Me time. Who is going to have guilt-free me time? Guilt-free me time. That's the way of doing it. Bingo every day. Jack, Julia, Mayo. Yes, from Lucy. Fantastic. Sounds good, Amanda. And last but not least, who is going to sleep well tonight? Bingos, Lucy and Jack and Dr. T and Amanda, Georgina and Elizabeth and Julia. And oh, you guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. That was the quickest game of bingo. I'm so proud of you because it means that you guys are showing up for yourselves and you are going to start taking control and feel in control while you go through the process. So I've shared a lot of different gems with you, right? We've taken a road trip together. We've talked about the 3 key ingredients. We did the Mindful Toolbox empowerment plan. We talked about what to do when you have a busy season that's coming up and celebrating those wins and reaching out to your community. We've covered how to increase the odds of reaching a goal, and you've just declared your big goal here today. And you were totally supported by an amazing community. And truthfully, I'd love to stay connected. Okay, so I do a couple of different things. There's a couple of different ways you guys can stay connected. Firstly is on social, right? You can find me at Bettering Youth Tutors. You can connect with me via Wellbeing at Qualified Tutor. There's so many different ways, but what I don't want to happen is for us all to log off and we go, that was nice, and then never speak to each other again. And then this wonderful momentum that we've created as a team just drifts by the wayside. It's so important, right? Community is a key part. So connect with each other, connect with myself. I'm so happy to connect with you. I will be doing power hours over the summer holiday, literally on Zoom, showing up. I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to show up and say, this is what I'm working on. What are you working on? We're going to hold each other accountable for the hour, and we're just going to sit and work. But being on Zoom might help us feel like we're not alone going through those icky things through the summer. So these are the amazing ways that we can stay connected. And I am unbelievably grateful for all of your time. And I am so sorry for going over by 4 minutes, but hopefully that bingo game was worth it. So thank you. And over to you guys, Georgina and Jack and Julia.
Thank you, Sarahlynn. That was amazing. That was amazing, as predicted. I love it. I love every bit of it. And you have reminded me, as you do most weeks, to do the things that stop me going mad. So thanks for that.
Sarahlynn, that was heavenly. Thank you.
I'm so glad. I hope you guys have found actionable things that you can take away. There's so much in there, but hopefully there is little nuggets that will help make it a little less overwhelming for you out in the world.
Definitely. Yeah, the disembodied voice of Julia sounds very relaxed right now. So I think
I'm so mellow. But I just want to share something else as well, Sarahlynn. That was a stunking presentation. It was just full of life and engagement, and we enjoyed every drop of it. So thank you for putting all that energy into it, because we're people that appreciate it. So thank you.
Of course. No, I'm so happy, honestly. Whenever you have a conversation, you're stumped on well-being, I'm your girl. Just come chat. I don't mind at all.
Yeah, definitely recommend. And there's going to be lots of well-being advice from Sarahlynn in your inboxes this week. You will have received some already. So go and have a look. You probably received lots of emails this week about the festival, but do have a look for the wellbeing tips that are dribbling through the emails, just to keep you going through the week. Just a reminder of the things that we've been talking about all day. So first off, thank you to our sponsors. We've come to the end of the day, sponsored by Nudge. They are also sponsoring Kate King's sessions through the week, and I definitely recommend taking a look at those sessions if you haven't already signed up for the neurodiversity CPD ticket. The session this morning was amazing. It's not too late to get that in your inbox at the end of the week. If you sign up for a ticket, you'll get the recordings, but it was brilliant to join in with, so I'd recommend taking a look at that. If you're interested in learning more about Nudge, you missed out on the live session earlier today, but you can still sign up for a one-to-one meeting with Brian and learn more about what they do. I would also like to direct you all to what Sarahlynn has been working very busily on the last month, which is World Tutors Day. You can find World Tutors Day pages all over social media. Share it with Sarahlyn's been sharing lots of fantastic advice on there too, so you can find even more wellbeing support and get involved in the events that are happening on Saturday. And just a reminder that the daily theme is Send and mental health. The whole focus of the festival is wellbeing, and I hope that you've come to the end of the day with lots of learning, lots of tips that you can bring into your tutoring and into your life to make sure that you can, as to quote Sarahlynn, you can feel good to do it. I was listening. For the last part of the day, so we are done. There's no more on the schedule for the day. We're all going to stick around for a bit if anybody wants to talk about things that have come up today, any questions about the sessions, any highlights that you wanted to share. And we'd love if you're happy to share a testimonial that we can share later on. That would be fantastic. But yeah, no pressure. You're very welcome to go and practice your self-care